When people are locked in, they're not supposed to work. Of course, for the first few days, they can manage with whatever stocks of food they are at home, where they keep. But for how long? I did mention certain dates when this has to be imposed, but I know this is just an indication that we might have to extend. As you know, people are waiting what will the Prime Minister announce after 2 weeks. And I said, we can lock them forever. How are they going to eat? What food do they have on the table? So I said instantly, when we lock down, my instruction is to feed them, to make sure that every soul that is locked in the house must be given food. So the question is about the life, which is key to make sure they are safe from COVID, and the livelihood. When people are locked in, they're not supposed to work. Of course, for the first few days, they can manage with whatever stocks of food they are at home, where they keep. But for how long? I did mention certain dates when this has to be imposed, but I know this is just an indication that we might have to extend. As you know, people are waiting what will the Prime Minister announce after 2 weeks. And I said, we can lock them forever. How are they going to eat? What food do they have on the table? So I said instantly, when we lock down, my instruction is to feed them, to make sure that every soul that is locked in the house must be given food. So the question is about the life, which is key to make sure they are safe from COVID, and the livelihood. At that time, I think it's important to prepare a proper strategy to handle this emergency situation. While some would be critical of what I did, but when you are right smack in the center of the storm, you can say anything. Oh, I could do better than this, I could better, but I have to see and size up the situation. And the first instruction you had at that time when there's no vaccine was to tell my ministers, find it, until the news came out to say they have found one. We got this offer from COVAX facility. So my minister was saying that we got this now. So what do? Buy. The soonest you get it, buy. But so we can't buy because they don't quote us a price. In the government way of doing things, procurement policy, there must be a price. But there's no price. But this is an emergency. You will miss this occasion because they give you a certain timeline to say yes or no. And it come out to about more than 400 million ringgit. That's not a small amount. But we calculated later on, it is fair price in that sense. But at least we've got the vaccine coming in. We found out later on that the facilities that is provided by the government through our public hospital is insufficient. And then we have to rope in the private sector. You can coax them to come in, or if they refuse because they are doing their own business, they might not want to get involved. So that's why we have to introduce the emergency law. Some people were questioning, why did Muhyiddin introduce it? There's no havoc, like those times of emergency during the communist time. It's a different emergency, it's health emergency. We need that law to allow us to introduce what we call ordinances with the Agong consent to do what we feel is necessary. One of the things is to rope in private hospital, which you can't do under normal circumstances. If not, you have to go to Parliament, and Parliament is not sitting. You cannot introduce law that may take months or years to do that. That's why the rationale to introduce emergency law. Well, of course, we want to see that Malaysia recover as fast as possible. We are not recovering that fast enough. Of course, speaking as National Recovery Council Chairman, I know that for sure. Some people say, let's go back to the 2019, the pre-pandemic, as a gauge to see that we have come back to normalcy. My plan is not going back to what it was. At 2019, the global situation is not that good as well. There was some depression, slowdown already happening that time. It has not moved down too fast, but it's not happening. So going back to 2019 for me is not a good standard. I'm a person who sets a slightly higher standard for my own self. I use the French term like par excellence, above that. So not going back to that, but going better than that. Because we have not achieved a high-income nation status. We have not even reached newly developed nation status as well. We're still far away. And pandemic COVID is a real hard hit on our economy. That's what I request, that I hold this chairmanship of the Recovery Council, is to assist the country, to speed up the process. We have done quite well to some extent, but we have not recovered fully. And I go into sector by sector by sector in the National Recovery Council. Malaysia's economy is very much dependent on small and medium enterprise. It's about 1 million establishment is under the SME definition, not including the micro businesses. And they are the biggest contributor, about 34% of GDP. And they are the worst affected. So then, of course, what do you do to assist them? And that's what during the time that we approved 530 billion, quite a major chunk of that goes into assisting the SMEs. And if SMEs can recover faster, the economy will reflect an improvement in terms of performance. There are two major issues that they talk about. One is about cash flow, and of course moratorium has helped. But they say, can we have another round of moratorium? The NRC with the chair, and I led the other day to say, why not? I have already sent notes to the Prime Minister, Minister of Finance. We can do it last time. Why can't we ask the bank to do it again through Bank Negara? And we saw the profit and loss accounts of banks, they make money. Even during the difficult time, they don't lose money, even with moratorium. And I said, why don't we do it? But they have not done it. And I hope with PN government winning this next election, the first thing, among other things, the business that I think is necessary to do is give another round moratorium.
Untuk program kita prihatin, kerana kerajaan Perikatan Nasional adalah kerajaan yang prihatin rakyat. We care for you.
The other second problem is about workers. There's not enough workers. You go to many restaurants, not enough workers. Plantations are facing tens of thousands of workers required. The last meeting we have, the requirement is about 1.1 million workers. Approved 476,000, I can remember this figure. Only 76,000 came in. There's a lot of shortfall. Why? Every single soul that is required to support the business means a lot of dollars is created. So that's what I feel is important. For example, tourism sector affected. Hotels, there's no tourists coming in, so they're badly affected. The food and beverages business, the homestay business, travel and agents, whatnot, they're all affected. So I called the Ministry of Tourism, MOTEC, to make a presentation. They say we need about 5 years of time to put ourselves back into what we were before. I say 5 years? By that time, a lot of restaurants will be closed, the hotels will have to shut down, because 5 years is a long time. Go back, review, and come back to the council, which they did later on, to say that we can do it within 4 or 3 years. They came back, we called them again. They say, sir, we can't do it. I think the ministries are not proactive enough. They don't think beyond what they've been doing all this time, not outside of the box, to challenge themselves to do something more than what they've been doing. We lost 80 billion if you don't put the tourism sector into it. 30 billion of that is domestic tourism. That's a huge chunk of money. So basically, I'm much focused in managing economy, because the government that we want to see coming out later will be in a better position to look at it immediately. Maybe some say it's a coincidence. Some might say it's because of proactive engagement policy we have with our trading partners. If you talk about palm oil, for example, Modi, Indian Prime Minister, imposed in import tax on palm oil. And that has been affecting us badly because India is one of the bigger markets. But somehow when I came in, I don't know, maybe it's because of foreign relations. They believe they can work together, and because we are all facing similar problem. Then they announced they scrapped the import taxes. And then palm oil started gushing into India. And of course, price in some other countries also because the demand is very high. Then of course, that has boosted up the price of palm oil. So I think importantly at this stage, because the whole world is facing similar problem, is how do we work together? We have a special session of ASEAN. I came in to see what do plan that ASEAN can do to assist nations to make sure that they can manage things better. So I think international relations and the fact that Malaysia has always been adopting proactive policies, engagement with foreign countries, that has in a way helped us a bit. Of course, beyond that, some do extend their help in sending some material, not just vaccine, other things to help manage COVID in Malaysia. I could recognize the US, I could recognize Japan, some other countries in China as well, assisting us. So I think international relation is times when we are facing difficulty is important. Well, I think I have a good set of cabinet ministers. They came in from different political parties. It's a combination of the BN plus BN sort of stuff, and they're all there, which are a reflection of all races. The interesting thing is when things happen this way, we don't talk about race. Politics was never into the picture to say, ini siapa, ni parti mana ke, tak ada. Cabinet is a joint, collective responsibility, as you said all the time. What decision we made, collective. And there's a lot of consultation. And when we consult, we bring in the professional, we bring in the doctors, we bring in the Director General of Health, the Director General of MOSTI, for example, because Minister of Science, Technology is also there. They come from UMNO, so it does not matter. I think it's important at a time when the nation is facing a serious crisis that we get our act together, united, in unison, to make sure that we do something good for the nation.